Okay, today I am doing a pen test in my Archer and Olive bullet journal. I have heard amazing things about this paper and I kind of want to see for myself. I'm going full out. I have this giant cup of pens. It was every pen that I could find, although I'm missing a couple. They seem to wander off, but they weren't like ones that I thought would bleed through anyway. There's a whole bunch in there, plus I'm doing watercolor, distress ink, and regular paint. I just really want to test it to its limits, so let's do this. Okay, so here's the first page. For each pen that I test, I will write it out, and then I will also do a bit of a smear test too. I'm a little bit paranoid after using a Hobonichi cousin. I know this paper is way different, but everything's smeared and I just don't like it. So my hands will end up really messy after this, I'm sure. Okay. Next up is a Villabeautifful Pen. I got this last Black Friday sale and it is one of my favorites. It's so gorgeous and bright. So let's do this. Next up is one of my absolute favorites. We got these at Candy Shop and ever since then I have been obsessed with it. It's an Arteza Inkonic. It's 0.4 in black and it writes so nice. Next up is the classic Papermate Inkjoy Gel. I know this is everyone's favorite. It seems like it's one of mine too. Next up is a Tombow Twintone. This is one of my frequent go-to pens too. So a little bit of smearing with a thicker one, but again, if I just waited like a couple more seconds, not a huge deal. I think it's pretty much impossible to avoid it with the thicker ones. Next up is an Erin Condren dual tip marker. Here is a La pen. This is a Pilot Ultrafine permanent marker. I just thought I'd test a couple permanent markers to see, even though they always bleed through, so I don't have high hopes, but we shall see on the other side. Okay, let's check the bleed through at this point. I'm curious to see. Wait. Y'all, what? I am so confused. Why did this one not bleed? I thought it was okay, let me see if I have a Sharpie. Does this paper really not bleed permanent? Okay, I got a classic Sharpie. If this bleeds, then I'm going to determine that the other one might not be permanent. Oh my god. What? What magic is this paper? Do you not see that? There's zero. Wait, what? Oh my gosh. Okay, I am sold. This paper is amazing. How do you not have a bleed with a permanent marker? Oh my gosh, this is the first time that's ever happened, so I am pretty stoked right now. I use a lot of vinyl stickers and sometimes it's a pain when you have to switch on and off and then you go to write on your regular paper and it bleeds through and you're like, oh. So, pretty excited right now. That's really amazing. I can't wait to see what else it can handle. Alright. Next up is, it's a Pilot Hi-Tec 4.0 pen. This is a Pentel Stylo. I always feel like I mispronounce this. It's a Pilot Frixion? Frixion? It is the 7.0. Here's the Tombow pen that I do not know how to pronounce. It's the one that starts with an F that everybody really loves. I don't know which tip it is though. I really want to get the variety pack because I think I got one that was a little bit too, I don't know, I don't like it as much as others, but I know people talk about it, so I think I just need to try a different tip. I really need to learn how to pronounce it as well. Next up is a Pentel Sign Pen. This is a pretty good brush lettering one. This is one of my go-tos. I highly doubt it'll bleed through, but I just want to test to see how it writes anyway. It is a Bic Gelocity. I always go for this one. It's so smooth. It is my absolute favorite gel pen. Next up is a Uniball Signo. This is a Muji pen. This one's really great if you are a Hobonichi user. It doesn't smear like at all. It's pretty perfect. So there's no way it's gonna smear in this one or bleed. This is a Uniball Jetstream. Let's do another bleed test to see what the other side is looking like. Still no bleed. I think after the Sharpie, I just don't think anything's gonna bleed except for maybe paint. The paint pens, that'll be the ultimate test, so we'll see. We'll get to those ones. Next up is this Tanmit pen. It's one that I haven't used a ton, but let's see. This is a Bazic washable color pen. I think this is like a Walgreens brand pen. They had a ton on sale, so I just bought one. It's like more of a felt tip. I could see myself coloring with it more. Next up is the classic Papermate Flair. This is one of my all-time favorites. This is a Pentel Sparkle Pop. I love these pens. They just are a great way to add some glitter to your page. They change colors too. They're so pretty. So this one does smear a lot. No big deal. It's not one that I will use to write every day with, so I'll just use it for decoration, so oh well. And as you can see, it kind of changed from black to red. I just love it. It's a magic pen. Next up is a Staedtler dual brush pen. It's got fine tip and thick tip on this end. I couldn't find black, so we're gonna go in with navy. Next up, I don't really know how to pronounce this one either. It's Baoke. I'm not sure. It is a nice little brush pen though. This is a Tombow mono drawing pen. This is one of my favorite felt tips as well. Next up is a brush marker. It's from Plume. It has got an extra fine and a brush tip. This is a Micron Pigma 2.0 pen, or a 0.2. Next up is a Sta Metallic Pen. Okay, so this page is all filled up. Let's go to the next page. The next pen we will be trying, I couldn't find a super dark color of it, but it is a Crayola signature pen. It's got a thin tip on the other side and then a brush tip on the other one. So this is this thin one. Next up is a Zebra Mildliner. This one, this is another pen that I got when Walgreens had a ton of pen sales. It's Me Too We. I've never heard of it. I haven't even actually tried it yet, but I just found it and I figured why not. And then the last actual pen that I'm going to try is a Crayola Highlighter. So overall for the pen section of this video, I'm pretty excited about this. Like, nothing has bled through at all. Smears aren't too bad. They're from pens that I expected would. It's just a really solid paper. I'm just still blown away by that the permanent markers did not show through. I'm gonna have to test on maybe a super thick one if I can find one later. The only pens that I couldn't find were like some felt tip pens or like a few gel pens that I have that I couldn't find, but they're ones that are similar to the ones that I did test out, so I know that they would bleed through. Like for example, a Pilot G2 wouldn't bleed through because it's similar to a Papermate Inkjoy. Okay, so on to the more intense pens. Oh, actually, just kidding. I found this Crayola one. I just want to try it really quick. I like to use these for brush lettering sometimes. A lot more smear than I thought for that one. Okay, now officially on to other types of medium. This one is a Jane Davenport brush pen. These ones I have not quite even mastered. They're very like liquidy and intense. If anyone's gonna bleed through, I'm gonna bet it's gonna be this one. Okay, so that pen is dried well enough. The part that did gush out quite a bit did bleed through a teeny tiny bit. Really not as bad as I thought it would. Honestly, I feel like if I had more control over that pen and more practice with it, then it would be like the rest of it where it doesn't bleed through as much. So not bad. Next up, I'm going to try a distress ink on there. These don't bleed through much, so I think it should be fine, but I like to use these for decorating a page, so we shall stamp and see. Blue hands. This is why art is messy, but it's fun. So I'm trying to get this nice and saturated just because that's what I would do if I was decorating something. I'd want darker parts and lighter parts. It's mostly dry, so let's see. Nope, does not show through. That's exciting. Next up, let's try some watercoloring. I hope to watercolor in this a lot. That's something I really want to practice on getting better at in 2020. So let's do this. First, I am gonna coat the page with some water. That's what I do for some watercolor drawings, so giving it the ultimate test here. Next, I'm gonna go in an uncoated section of the page because sometimes I do that too. Okay, so it's mostly dry, good enough. So let's see, no bleed through. That's really awesome, especially since the other wetter one did get quite wet. I'm glad that it didn't show through. Next up, I am going to try actual paint. I do want to paint a tiny bit in here just to see. This is just basic, your cheap acrylic paint that you can get from any craft store. It's pretty common. Whoop, squirted quite a bit. Oh well. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a paintbrush and just kind of go in. In some parts I am gonna layer it quite heavy just to see how much it can take. Okay, so this is mostly dry. There's a couple wet spots in the parts that I did get a little bit thicker, but let's see. All right, that one also doesn't show through. I'm really excited about that. It does make the paper a little bit stiffer, but I don't mind that. To me, when a paper is kind of stiff like that, after painting it, it just shows like the artsiness and love that a journal has, so it works for me. Yeah, overall, my thoughts on this is that I am super excited for 2020 now. I'm glad that pretty much nothing except for one thing that I used too much water on bled through. Like, this literally never happens for anything. There's always something that bleeds through. So I am just super impressed with this. They made really quality paper, and this makes me like think of so many ideas of what I can use this for next year. So that's super awesome. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, comment below what other pens you'd like to see me use. Maybe I could do another pen test in the future with pens that I didn't try out. And thank you so much for joining.